What do you think when you hear the word creation? When we say that word, we simply mean everything God made in the world around us. Creation includes all the things God made for us to live and thrive in this big, beautiful world. The sun, the moon, the air, the water, the plants, the animals, all the amazing things that help us exist on this planet. See, when we talk about creation, we're talking about everything in the world that God made for us. So when we talk about caring for creation, that means we're talking about what we can do right now as middle schoolers to care for the world that God made for us. Now, maybe to you this sounds like something that politicians or adults or celebrities or social media influencers you follow should care about. And if those people are talking and caring for creation, then you think maybe you should probably do it too? Or maybe it's something that comes up at school, about the importance of caring for creation because you've learned about it in science class, or worked on an environmental service project for the assignment, or celebrated Earth Day at school. And maybe, if you're honest, you're also wondering if this whole caring for creation thing is something that we should be talking about at church. Is this even a church thing? Well, if you've grown up going to church, you may have heard a lot about how God created the world. But you may not have heard a lot of church people talking about it beyond that. And if coming to church is new for you and you're not really sure you even believe in God, this whole God created the world thing can be hard to wrap your brain around. Thinking about what that means for us may not even be on your mind. No matter what you've heard about caring for creation, where you stand on this whole faith thing, the reality is, it's a trending topic in our schools, in our news, on social media, and that makes it something to think about here at church as well. And it's more than that. I think it's actually something that God really, really cares about, and here's why. Remember how we talked about how we feel when we see or experience cool parts of the world around us? That feeling is in a response to the world that God made. The thing about creation is that it points to a creator. When you look up at the stars and you're amazed at how big the galaxy is, or when you hold your brand new baby cousin for the first time, or when you sit around the campfire and all your anxiety floats away for a little while, or when your pet, your dog, and it makes you feel at peace. Those kinds of feelings, you feel those because something in you recognizes what God has made. Everything we see in nature is pointing to a creator who made it all, and that's because the creator cares about his creation, and I think it's something God made for us to care about as well. To help us out here, I want to look at some wise words from a really famous king, and this king's name was David. What's cool about David is that before he was king, he actually had a job that allowed him to spend a lot of time thinking about and even caring for creation. David was a shepherd, which meant he literally spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours outside. After he became king, David wrote down a lot of prayers, thoughts, and even poems to reflect what he experienced and learned about God. These are called Psalms. And in one of the Psalms that David wrote, we find some things that he learned to be true about creation. And here's what he wrote. So right away, I think what David wrote helps us answer one of our really important questions about caring for creation. Why should we care about it? David's answer, because God made it. The fact that God made the earth and everything in it makes it all important to us. Every part of the world around us was made and formed by God, and that gives it value. That makes it good, and what makes it worth talking about and caring for here at church. See, when we look back at the way God made the world, we find example after example of everything God created. And not only that, but each and everything God made along the way is called good. What would you call very good in your own life right now? Maybe the house you live in, or the newest pair of shoes you just bought, maybe your soccer team, or even your best friend. Whatever it is, when you think of something that is very good, you treat it that way. You take care of it because it's a value to you. You think it is very good and you want it to stay that way. Well, the same is true with God's creation. When we recognize that all of creation was made and a creator that created it sees it as valuable, we start to change the way that we see it and appreciate it even more. And that's exactly the point. It's not just the idea that we should care about creation, it's that it was part of God's plan from the beginning. Look way back to the beginning of the story of creation with me. This was the first assignment from God to humans, to care for the world God created for them. Caring for creation was part of the plan for God's people from the very beginning. You see, we were made for this. We were designed to care for this beautiful world that was given to us, to care for all the amazing, brilliant things God created. We were made to treat creation like God created it. Now, that might sound like a big job. Being made to help take care of God's creation, being designed to treat creation like God created it, how do we even start to do that? Well, here's a couple things that I think will help us get started. First, enjoy what God created. Appreciate the world around you. See it as very good, because it is. Maybe even let it be a part of the way that you connect with or get to know God. Now, enjoying creation doesn't mean that you need to go on some epic hike or take a swim under a waterfall. Maybe just write down one thing every day that you notice and appreciate in the world around you. Or find a spot somewhere outside to sit and listen quietly for 5 minutes to the creation that's around you. Whatever you decide to do, take a step to notice and enjoy God's creation all around you. Second, respect what God created. Once you notice and appreciate all of God's creation around you, I think the step becomes pretty easy. Because then we'll respect what's in our world and treat it like it matters. This can look like so many things. Maybe for you it means remembering all the parts of creation that have a purpose and that they're important and that they're a part of God's plan. Or maybe it means remembering what we have the power and responsibility to protect God's creation. When we respect what God created, we remember to place value not just on some parts of creation, but all parts, because God values it. And third, and finally, do something to treat creation like God created it. What small changes can you make on a daily basis to care and take care of this world around you? Maybe you can choose to use more reusable cups or straws. Maybe you ask your parents to walk or ride bikes instead of driving the car. Maybe you can join an environmental club at school or decide to learn more about how you can care for animals. Maybe you just decide to treat other people around you a little kinder because they're part of His creation too. Whatever this looks like for you, make a commitment to being a small part of a big calling that we have to treat creation like God created it.